And let's quickly bring up our two guests, Anubha Srivastav Sahai, President of the India-wide Parents Association, and Yamini Iyer, President of CPR India, on a very crucial issue, and that is whether schools should be open or not. And why is it that we have this COVID hypocrisy where everything else is open but schools are always shut? Why? Let me ask this question to Ms. Anubha Srivastav Sahai. What is your opinion, Ms. Sahai? Schools should be opened or not?
See, as far as schools are concerned, we never said that don't reopen school. Even earlier when the schools were reopened, we are of the opinion that let the vaccination happen and then you can reopen school. But now the opinion is like vaccination, as many people are saying, is not mandatory, is not required. We are okay with that. But the only concern is that there is a complete violation of all the COVID protocols. That is only on paper. If you will see the schools which are being reopened now and even earlier, all the schools were flouting the norms. Then we don't have transport facility for children. Most of the children, 80 to 90% children, they use public transport in all across all the states. And in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, you may be having some kind of transport facility, but yes, many parents are not in a position to send their children to school because of this reason also. Secondly, the COVID protocols which are being imposed in schools are not being followed by school authorities. Neither there is any check and balance by the education department or any other local body or the authorities whether the schools are following the COVID protocols or not. How the students are going to commute, that is the biggest concern for parents. Okay. And whether the schools are going to follow all these protocols or not, whether they are going to take any responsibility, be it government or education department or schools. Okay. When it comes to taking responsibility, they say no, we will not take any responsibility.
Yamini Iyer, so the main problem here is that schools have to take responsibility, and we do see schools saying that we are not liable. But the point is, this safe route of just keeping them shut while everything else is open comes at a huge cost, and that cost is education.
Absolutely. You said it, Sanket. It's complete COVID hypocrisy. We have open markets, we have open malls, we have open gyms, we have opened airports. I can assure you COVID protocols are not being followed all that well in any of these places. Opening up a schools to ransom on the back of COVID protocols not being followed is not a good argument. But I think it's important for us to recognize 2 years of school closure, particularly for primary schools. The state of Delhi, over which the argument with the DDMA has happened today, now holds the unique gold medal distinction of being amongst the longest pandemic-induced school closures. Uganda, which held this distinction, opened up on the 10th of January. There is no science behind this continued closure. There is enough science to tell us that the learning losses, the emotional losses, the psychological losses are significant. My CPR colleague Jishnu Das studied the closure of schools in Pakistan during an earthquake for 4 months. 4 months of school closure led to a loss of nearly 15% of lifetime earnings amongst those children who lost out being in school. Think what 2 years can do to our children. If we as a society believe in our children, believe in the future of our children, we have to pressurize our governments to open schools.
But you know, their response is that everything is mated to the progression in COVID cases. If the cases are high, how can you expect a government to open schools? For instance, now Mumbai has opened schools. Tamil Nadu is saying from 1st of February we'll open schools and colleges. And similarly, when the right time arrives, Delhi will do the same.
Sanket, we have adopted the policy of abundance of caution, and we forgot ever about what will we do, at what point will we open schools. That policy of abundance of caution is now clearly leading to abundance of harm. There is nothing in the GARP policy of the Delhi government or the DDMA that explains to us under what conditions will schools reopen, particularly primary schools. So schools have been closed for 700 plus days. 2 long years have been lost out for our children. The costs are high. We are failing an entire generation of this country. Is this what we want as a society? I certainly don't want this as a parent for my children.
I think that's a very, very important point that Ms. Yamini Iyer is making. Thank you very much, Ms. Sahai, as well as Ms. Iyer, for very articulately putting your points of view. It's important to hear both sides, and I'm sure you're representing the voice of many parents across the country. You know, this constant battle that parents have in their head to send a child to school or not. But the point is, in our response as governments, we can't have this very hypocritical or hypocrisy-filled argument that you will open everything else, but you will keep the schools shut. Good night and goodbye.